If you want to color grade in Adobe Premiere Pro and you shoot in some kind of log, you've probably been told to use a LUT for color space transformation inside Lumetri. Today I will show you why you're not getting your footage to look right and explain the underlying concept at play. This concept applies not only to Premiere Pro but also to DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro and pretty much every other application used for video and photo editing. So in general, it's pretty important knowledge to have. I bet you've been in this kind of situation. You've got your clip in your timeline and it's just a bit overexposed. But no worries, in the waveform you can clearly see that all of the information you need is still present in the clip. Because luckily, log footage gives us so much latitude to work with. Next, you apply your color space transformation LUT to Rec. 7.9. Suddenly, your highlights are completely gone. You try your best to recover them, but nothing seems to work. You pile correction upon correction onto the clip, and your highlights just won't come back. When you disable the LUT, you can clearly see that all of the information is still there. So, are the people on the internet right? Is color grading manually really superior to using LUTs, or are your LUTs just bad? The answer to both of these questions is no. I've already done an entire video on the topic where I explained in detail why the no LUTs mentality is just a result of misunderstanding basic concepts in color grading. To actually understand the underlying concepts at play, let's switch to Final Cut Pro real quick. Here I've got the same overexposed clip. When I apply the same LUT from S-Log3 sgamma3.cine to Rec. 7.9, you can see my highlights are just completely blown. The image looks as washed out as it did before in Premiere Pro. Now, let's say I want to rescue my highlights using an instance of color wheels. So I apply an instance of color wheels, go in here and use the offset or the global wheel to pull down the entire image. But as you can see, it doesn't really respond right. I mean, my blacks are almost clipping and the image still looks washed out. Let's reset this correction. This time I go back to the video inspector and take my color wheels adjustment and put it before the LUT. In case you're not familiar with the inspector in Final Cut Pro, adjustments get processed from top to bottom. We have our video input at the top and our video output at the bottom. So adjustments at the top get processed first, where adjustments at the bottom get processed last. It's just like in Resolve, where the signal flows from left to right through your node tree. Now with my color wheels adjustment before the LUT, if I go in here and do the same operation, so I will lower the entire image using the offset or the global wheel, look what happens. The image responds entirely different. Look, it doesn't behave linearly as it did before. This behaves more like adjusting exposure in camera, which is the result that we want in post. These are the effects of a concept called signal chain hierarchy. You might also hear this referred to as the order of operations if you want to look it up on the internet. What we've just discovered is that the order matters. Why and how this works is a topic for another video, but if you're curious, I have plenty of resources on my channel already. In Final Cut Pro, you can rearrange the order of adjustments just by dragging them around in the inspector. In DaVinci Resolve, you can obviously change the order of the nodes in your node tree. But what do you do in Premiere Pro? Lumetri doesn't seem to give you the same flexibility, or does it? Fortunately, we have 3 ways to avoid this problem in Premiere Pro. Option 1, you could use the Creative tab. Instead of applying your color space transformation LUT in the Basic tab, use the Creative tab instead. Just as in Final Cut Pro, the clip goes through Lumetri from top to bottom, meaning adjustments at the top get processed first and adjustments at the bottom get processed last. This lets you make all of the basic adjustments before the LUT, which is what we want. However, color curves and color wheels are processed after the creative section. While this isn't ideal, you can still work with the full dynamic range of your clip to prevent information loss in the basic section. But if you want to use curves or color wheels, you will find them to behave strangely in comparison to the basic adjustments. This is because they are processed after the LUT. So let's go one step further. For more control, you could use multiple instances of Lumetri on the same clip. Just like the inspector in Final Cut Pro, the signal flows from top to bottom in the effects panel in Premiere Pro. For this example, let's just use 2 instances of Lumetri. Apply the LUT in the last instance of Lumetri and then make all of your adjustments in the first instance of Lumetri. This ensures you're working on the recording color space of your clip, meaning you take advantage of all of the color information and the full dynamic range before the LUT is applied. As you can see, the highlights come back and the clip behaves as expected. Lastly, you can use an adjustment layer. In the timeline, the topmost layer is processed last, meaning in the timeline the signal flows from the bottom to the top. This is the opposite of how this works in the effects pane. Keep this in mind if you're working with multiple adjustment layers. Adjustment layers are especially handy when all of the clips in your timeline are from the same camera with the same recording color space. Simply apply an adjustment layer across the entire timeline and load your color space transformation LUT onto it. Then you can make individual adjustments to each clip underneath the adjustment layer. This works because the Lumetri adjustments of the clips will get processed before the signal moves to the adjustment layer. Besides the proper order of operations, there are some things you want to understand to get the most out of your log footage when color grading. To get the bigger picture, you might want to watch this video next.